What do you do if you feel stuck in your current job, or maybe even in your current career path trajectory? When I'm coaching data scientists, especially over the last 12 months, this sense of being stuck in a rut, having a career plateau, or being in a dead end job, dead end role, great dissatisfaction with where you find yourself. Those are all exceptionally common. I'm seeing those in the majority of people that I'm coaching. So what I want to talk about in this video is, what should you do if you find yourself in this spot? The causes are, there's a lot of them. Businesses are still trying to figure out what to do with data scientists and data professionals as a whole. You are likely underutilized or being utilized improperly at the job you're in right now. That's going to cause some stress and some conflict. It's likely that the person who leads you has never been a data scientist or a data professional. They don't know how to support you, how to advocate for initiatives and projects. They don't understand how to create a career path for you within the current business. That is going to lead to a lot of dissatisfaction. There's more. I'm not going to get into every one of the reasons, because if you feel stuck or if you feel like you're in a plateau, you're living this. You don't need me to remind you about how you feel. The first thing most people think of to do is to go find another job, and that's not necessarily the right option. Making a change is something you'll probably need to do, especially if you're facing burnout. If you find yourself on Sundays dreading going to work on Monday, if you're having trouble with sleep, if you can't focus, if you are beginning to be angry a lot or frustrated a lot, if you resent the people you work with, users, customers, leadership, any one of those types of patterns is an indication that you're suffering from burnout. It's important to preserve your mental health, preserve your mental capabilities and acuity by avoiding burnout, because that can cause significant degradation that pushes your career even further off track. The urge is to do something immediately. And so that's, I quit. I'm going to go someplace else. That's not the right way to start. The first thing to do is get a sheet of paper or get on a whiteboard. Write down the thing. We focus on those things that we don't like. So just get that out of your head, write it down on the left-hand side of the paper or the whiteboard, move that off to the side. And then on the right-hand side, this is the more important piece. What would it take for you to be happy in a job? What would it take for you to be satisfied? What are those things you truly want? Some people are going to have no problem at all writing this down. Others are going to struggle. The reason for that is we usually hit a plateau when we go from building our career around what everyone else tells us we should want and questioning whether those are things that we actually want. Family can play a big role in what we do for a living or what we define success as. Friends, comparisons to people around us, others in the field. All of these external forces can create a false perception of what we want out of a career and what makes us happy. So what I want you to think about doing is, every time you write one of those things down, one of those elements that will make you happier with your career, ask yourself, is that something that aligns with who I am as a person and other parts of my life, things that I enjoy doing outside of work? Is there an alignment? Is there a connection? Because if there isn't, you may have found something that's an externally dictated part of your career versus an internally dictated part of your career. So it's important to separate those out. Chasing after something that people have told you you should want, you should get, have externally defined as successful, that may not align with what it is that you actually would say and define success by. So it's important to separate those two things out and get down to the point where you have a good list of what exactly would make you happy. Much of burnout is caused by us not having a defined picture of what a great career would look like. Our careers are accidental. We will go from opportunity that's presented to us to opportunity that's presented to us instead of making a more structured roadmap and career strategy, and then using that to help us decide which opportunities are right for us so that we avoid burnout. That's why the definition piece is so important. Once you've defined it and written it down, it's something that you can continuously improve, that you can refer back to, that you can use to evaluate new opportunities, or if you're faced with decisions, critical career points, that list will help you in understanding how this thing that you've been given, which always seems amazing, grass is always greener, and promotions always sound like a great idea, but you have to evaluate it based on your personal goals and alignment with your career path. That will avoid some of this dearth and plateau and frustration that people experience in their careers. But it's not going to handle all of it. Some of us are just in bad situations when it comes to the work world. I was in 2010 through 2012. I had plateaued at the company that I was at. I got a couple of token promotions over the course of those 2 years, but in all honesty, I was in a bad place and I had to move on. The level of burnout that I was experiencing, I did that quiet quitting trend back 12 years ago before it was popular, where I simply said, I'm no longer going above and beyond anymore. I'm just not doing it. It isn't worth it for me. My problem was partially that I was in a horrible situation, but also that I failed to recognize there was no way that staying in my current role, current team, current department, there was no path to success there. And so quiet quitting was absolutely the wrong thing to do. What I should have been doing in that role is what I advise people to do now. Begin to look around you for new opportunities, not in the team or organization that you're in, but begin to explore outside of the organization and outside of the team. What other opportunities are there? Some people discover leadership at this time. Some people discover strategy, product management, project management. They fall in love with a variation on whatever that they're doing, whatever role they're doing now. And those can be very, very satisfying career pivots. The fact that it's a tangent to what you're doing and that you're trying to make the pivot within your own organization, own business, the company that you're working with right now, it makes it easier than trying to find that same job and making that pivot someplace where you don't have a track record, where no one knows you. They're less likely to give you that chance. So quitting immediately and quiet quitting are sometimes the wrong thing to do. It may not necessarily be the organization itself or the business itself. It may just be the team, the structure, the business needs, the constraints of that particular part of an organization that you work with that's pushing you into this burnout mode. The things that you thought you wanted are available on that team, but you're getting to realize that there are other things that you actually want. There are different career goals that you want to pursue, and you're going to have to go outside of the team. And it's not necessarily a terrible business. Leadership really isn't as bad as you thought it was. That exercise that I talked about, where you define what it is that you want in your career, can help you understand where the real issues, where the real struggles are coming from and the conflict that you're feeling. It's probably coming from the inside more than it's coming from the outside, where everything's wrong, everything's terrible. So think about where your opportunities are that aren't obvious within the business that you work at now. But a huge number of people in the data field are also in companies that simply don't understand how to utilize you. You are truly stuck in your current role and anywhere that you go in the business and try to make the kind of impact that you want to. You're simply not going to be able to unless you decide to truly pivot straight into strategy and build out the structure necessary in order for you to do your job. I had to do that as a consultant. Originally did research and development, data science, model development, some data engineering, ML engineering, but I quickly realized I couldn't get approval for high-end projects unless I handled the strategy side, unless I made inroads with C-level executives and leadership. I had to go to them, make the case, build out the strategy, and I realized there was all of this work that had to be done in order for me to do any of the things that I wanted to. It was a slow and painful transition, but around 2017, 2018, I finally pivoted into the strategy world, and it's been extremely satisfying for me personally because I wanted to have a bigger impact on businesses than simply initiative to initiative to initiative. That may align with what you want to do. You may want to look at a leadership role and helping to build out the processes, manage that strategy, implement it, have someone else really design it, hand it over to you, and then you are the owner of it. Implement your vision for building out the organization and capabilities, building relationships with other teams. If that all sounds interesting, it may be time to pivot into leadership because you can change the business. You can fix the business. The same is true with strategy. You can begin to work with C-level leaders and explain to them what they could be doing. You could explain the potential to them. And moving into strategy allows you to take this company that didn't know how to use you and was burning you out and fix them. So you're making a decision. You're in a setup to fail right now. Are you going to stay and fix that? Is there an opportunity to stay and fix that? In some companies, it's a no-win situation. So is it possible to stay and fix and make things better for yourself? And is that desirable? Does that fit your criteria for career satisfaction? Do you want to have that kind of impact? You may not. You may want to simply continue down the individual contributor track. And if that's the case, if you're not interested in staying and fixing, well, then it's time to go. There is nothing else you can do. It's not going to get any better. So it's time to go find a new role. But especially in this economy, it's critical that you don't make a pivot into a place, number one, that could lay you off. So you want to find a stable company, and a lot of the flights to safety and safer companies, stable companies, those are important to consider. But also, this time around, when you're choosing a role, you want to have that list of things that will make you happy. And you're going to spend as much time evaluating the opportunity to see if it is a good fit for you as interviewers spend time evaluating you and your capabilities. Are you a good fit for the role? We often start our careers as almost mercenaries, where we will take the highest salary, the best experience that we can get, and so on. As you begin to plateau, hit that first plateau and that second plateau in your career, sometimes our priorities change. That's going to be reflected in the list that you wrote down. Do you want to work with a high-quality team where you may be right now the smartest person on the team that you're working on? Do you want to go someplace where you can continue to learn? Do you want to not always be the smartest person? Do you want to be surrounded by people that are truly at that next level of expertise? That's something to look for. And in the interview, you're going to be evaluating the team. You're going to be talking to them and asking them as much about their experience, background, and capabilities as they do asking about yours. It's a two-way interview to make sure this next opportunity is going to be something you'll enjoy. You're not going to just go from burnout situation to burnout situation to, and this is why you see a lot of job hopping in data science. Data professionals get burnt out because they aren't utilized properly. And they haven't found a team that's a good fit for what they consider to be career satisfaction. So it's important to evaluate the people who you're going to be working with, the team. Leadership is just as important. What makes a great leader for you? What are the characteristics that you define leadership by? What kind of leaders have you in the past enjoyed working with the most? What have they done? Is there a particular style of leadership? Is there something that you expect from a leader that you're not getting right now? That's something to look at, evaluate. Those are good questions to ask of their leadership. What sort of culture and attitude towards what you do is going to make you happier? So evaluating the business's culture, evaluating the relationships between the organization and the team that you're going into and the rest of the business, not only the technical organization, but internal, external customers and users, leadership, product, project teams, all of the above. Looking at what the relationships are, what the culture will be on the team, that's huge, but also just the larger business as a whole. Are you going into a business unit that's seen as a revenue generator, a cost reducer, productivity improver? Does the business understand the value of the team? And are they bought in? Do they support the team? Or are they trying to commoditize it? Are they just trying to get that team to deliver project to production? Who cares what it does? Because if that's not what you want to be a part of, you're just going to burn out again. Those are the major dimensions: the team, the overall business and business culture, and leadership style. Projects are important too, the type of projects that you're going to be working on, but that's pretty obvious. The rest of the aspects of evaluation are usually pretty obvious and straightforward. So when you're going into that role, just make sure it's a two-way evaluation street. And if they have any problem with you asking a ton of questions, it's probably not a great opportunity anyway. Don't be afraid to ask questions. In this part of your career, you can be selective and choosy. So make sure that you are. Also look at side projects. Is there, especially if you feel stuck, where you can't find another better alternative, the alternatives that are available to you for whatever reason are sort of restricted, either by your location or personal situation. If you can't make that move, look at freelancing and side projects. See if there's something that you can spend a little bit of time during the week doing that can create a light at the end of the tunnel for you. Those are significant improvements in your situation that you can make incrementally. So yes, you're still going to this drudgery job and to this place that you don't enjoy. But when I say there's that light at the end of the tunnel, it's because you're building something for yourself. Find people you enjoy building with. Create your own team. Assemble it from, again, people you just enjoy working with. You're building a network. You're working on projects together, delivering value, doing a lot of the things that you want to be doing in your current role, but simply aren't given the opportunity to. So create that side project, create that maybe even side hustle. It becomes a small business, maybe some services that you're offering. Those are all ways to preserve your sanity because you're doing things outside of work and getting professional satisfaction from external sources, getting outside of the business. And you're going to find getting outside of the business and doing those external projects begins to open up opportunities for you that weren't there before. So you've gone from a bad situation with few options to a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. And what you're doing, what you're working on, this little side hustle and side project that you're building and developing, that's going to turn into something long-term that could get you out of the situation that you're in. That's why I call it a light at the end of the tunnel, because it brings opportunities to you, these new opportunities from outside. People take notice of what you're doing and either want to join your team or want you to join theirs. These are some of the ways that you can get out of that rut that you're stuck in. If you feel like the job that you're in right now is just, it's too painful. I can't keep doing this. I need a way out. If that's how you're feeling, look at those options that I've given you, those three main ways. Look at the external within the business, new roles, smart evaluation of those roles, and then finally doing something outside on your own, doing something independently. Those three are good places to start. They'll avoid burning yourself out, and that's the biggest part of this. If you get burnt out, your mental health deteriorates, your family life can suffer, your whole friend circle can fall apart. There's so much can be damaged by a bad work situation or professional environment. Something needs to be done. It's not the knee jerk. The beginning is usually understanding yourself. It starts with introspection, which is something few people understand or expect. It starts internally in defining what better looks like so that the next opportunity that you take, the next place you go, aligns with what you want to be doing professionally. It aligns really with your passions. And you're going to find your passions in the professional world and in the personal world overlap. When that begins to happen, that's what real work-life balance is. It's balancing your purpose more than balancing your time so that you enjoy what you do for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's very difficult to have a happy life when a third of your day is dedicated to something that just sucks the life out of you. So avoid burnout. Identify the symptoms quickly. If you feel stuck in a rut, start internally, look externally. Figure out a way to create an opportunity for yourself if one isn't readily available for you, and then make an intelligent move that's actually going to solve the real problem, the real reason you're feeling stuck and burnt out, instead of just turning into a sort of Band-Aid where 6 months later you say, you know what, here we go again. I'm in the same spot. Once you understand what's going on internally, you're going to be far more successful with fixing what's happening around you.